It was the seventh missed call in under an hour. Blocked number, same ringtone, same silence when I answered the first time, except for the shallow breathing, hers. I stared at the phone's black screen. It pulsed in my hand like a wound. She had found me. 4 years of silence, 4 years of absolute nothing, and now this. I hadn't heard her voice since the day she filed the papers, smiling as she told me the bank had finally promoted her, laughing with her coworkers about how she'd trimmed the dead weight and was now free to manage assets that actually mattered. She toasted to her freedom that same night, not knowing I watched from across the bar, unseen in the back corner. I didn't drink, I just listened. I signed the divorce papers the next morning, left the ring on the kitchen counter, and vanished. Not a word, not a fight, just gone. She thought she won. I didn't ask why, I didn't beg or plead. But I knew. You feel it in the details. The locked phone screen, the sudden late meetings, the inside jokes that didn't include you. The scent of someone else's cologne, faint and smug on the passenger seat. It was never about love, not for her. It was about leverage. She used mine, my loyalty, my silence, my last name. And when it had served its purpose, she cut the rope and let me drop. I remember the moment I knew for sure. She came home with a new necklace, gold, minimalist, too expensive for what she made at the time. I said nothing. She waited for me to ask. I didn't. She hated that more than anything. A week later the papers arrived. No conversation, just a signature line. And I gave her what she wanted. Because I knew something she didn't. She'd underestimated what happens when the dead weight walks away willingly. I didn't just leave, I dissolved. Changed cities, changed names, cleaned out my half of the joint account the moment her promotion went through. Transferred everything into a blind trust I'd built years before. She laughed about her freedom. She didn't know I'd invested that dead weight into something bigger. Law. Specifically, the kind that destroys people quietly. Compliance, finance, corporate dissolutions. The kind of law that dismantles lives with dotted lines, not bullets. I became a shadow partner in one of the most ruthless investment law firms on the East Coast. 6 months in, they made me CEO. No one knew my face, but my hands were on every signature that ended marriages, split families, burned reputations to the ground, including hers. I'd been watching. When she took over the branch, I started collecting. A junior associate flagged her name during a review. Irregular disbursements, soft client fraud, asset mismanagement. Petty, stupid things. She'd gotten lazy. Her new boyfriend, a compliance officer, ironically, had left digital fingerprints across several flagged accounts. They both thought they were clever. They weren't. And I was patient. The dossier was 67 pages, complete with call logs, transaction maps, personal expenditures traced to corporate funds. I mailed it anonymously to her regional director. 2 days later, the bank launched an internal audit. She was suspended by the end of the week. She tried to call me then, not knowing it was me who set the fire beneath her chair. Not knowing I was the one who drafted the whistleblower protection clause that kept her replacement untouchable. She found my number through a back door, an old investment account I'd left active on purpose. She called, texted, apologized for everything, except the thing that mattered, the betrayal. She wasn't sorry. She was afraid. She showed up at my office 2 weeks later. I let her in, sat behind the glass desk. No nameplate, just the view behind me, cold steel and skyline. She looked thinner, tired, less makeup, no necklace. "I didn't know it was you," she said, voice soft. I nodded. "You've been following me?" she said, almost accusing. Another nod. Silence stretched. She waited for anger, accusation, pain. I gave her none. Instead, I slid a file across the desk. Her name, her signature, her crimes. She flipped through the pages. Her hands shook. "What is this?" "Your future." She swallowed, blinked, looked at me like she didn't recognize the man she once filed away like trash. You did all this? Just because I—" "No," I interrupted, voice flat. "I did this because I finally could." She laughed, sharp and cracked. "I made one mistake. I stood. That's where you're wrong," and walked out of the room. Left her there, alone, surrounded by the weight she thought she'd left behind. She called me once more, a single voicemail, said she was sorry, that she never meant to hurt me, that she missed the version of me who listened, stayed quiet, didn't fight back. I didn't respond, because that version of me was dead. She killed him, and the one who replaced him doesn't return calls, not from ghosts, not from liars. Somewhere in a corner office, she's watching her career die in real time, watching everything unravel from a hand she never saw coming. Dead weight doesn't float, it pulls you under, and I'm the reason she can't breathe anymore.